Welcome to Digging Deeper with Backyard Farmer. I'm your host, Kim Todd. On Digging Deeper, we have in-depth discussions with extension and industry expert about those important landscape topics. Tonight, we're going to discuss some people's favorite creepy crawly, spiders. Thank you for joining us once again for Digging Deeper with Backyard Farmer. There isn't a whole lot of love out there for spiders unless you're an entomologist, but there are plenty of people who have some really extreme fear of them. My guest tonight will show us that they are mostly beneficial, especially to gardeners. Here to talk about those spiders is extension entomologist Wayne Onosor. Wayne, you're on the show as a regular, and you know, of course, that I'm okay with spiders as long as they're either dead, or they're the yellow garden spider, or daddy longlegs, or mother longlegs, or some of the other ones too. There are others that I just am not a fan of. So let's talk about what is a spider.
Yeah, perfect place to start. What is a spider? Spiders belong to a group called arachnids. You know, just like we have insects, there's a lot of different types of insects. You have your beetles, your butterflies, a lot of other things. There are more than one type of arachnid. Your mites fall underneath arachnids, your scorpions fall underneath arachnids, and then your classic spiders fall underneath arachnids. So those are what we call orders underneath there. So it's the same thing as like the beetles are one order. So you have spiders as one order, and those daddy longlegs you talked about are actually a separate order. They're not true spiders. So those little pills on walking legs are not.
Are not a spider. What
they're
are
actually
they?
not a true spider. They're their own group. They're called Apilionids or Apiliones is where they fall in. And the unique thing, you know, the myth behind them is that they have the highest, most toxic venom.
A daddy longlegs?
That's the myth.
Okay, that's the myth.
But here's the bust part of it. They actually don't have venom glands.
Well, there you go.
So they can't inject a venom into you. So they're very much and they're more of a recycler. They do take some opportunistic pieces of, you know, aphids and other small soft-bite things they can catch easily, but no, they're more of a recycler on decaying plant juices and things like that.
Okay, so talk about what makes a spider a spider.
All right, so arachnids as a whole have the 8 legs. So they all have the 8 legs. The spiders themselves are going to have those 8 jointed legs. They're going to have 2 body regions. So the one is going to be called a cephalothorax. That's where all the legs and the eyes and the mouth parts are all attached. And the next part is the abdomen. That's where your spinnerets that actually spin the silk are attached. So when you see things where spiders are spitting silk, there's actually no such thing as a spider that will spit silk out of the front end. There is a group of spiders called spitting spiders that actually spit a glue out to capture their prey, but it's not true silk.
Interesting. All right, so what's the littlest spider that you're aware of and the biggest one?
Well, the biggest one, we'll start there. The biggest one in the world is the Goliath bird-eating spider, and a cross with legs that are the size of a dinner plate.
And not in Nebraska.
Fortunately, no. This is a tropical spider, so it's not something that we necessarily are going to find here unless it came in on a shipment. So if you work in a shipping yard of some kind where you receive shipments from various parts of the world, you're more apt to see some of the more exotic stuff out there.
And venom? They are venomous?
All spiders are venomous.
Okay.
So that's the easy way to look at it.
Except for daddy longlegs, which aren't spiders.
Which aren't a true spider. Very good. You're learning. Very good, Kim. So we need to remember, we call them poisonous sometimes, and I know Dennis has done this with his snakes too.
Right.
A poison is something that's ingested. A venom is something that's injected. Mm-hmm. So they are venomous. Most of the spiders that we deal with, at least in the United States, are not an issue. There are a few groups, however, that are. Mm-hmm. And you can tell some apart really easily based on coloration, and some of them we have a lot of confusion with. Probably the most easily recognizable is the black widow. Mm-hmm. There are actually, let's see if I counted correctly, there are 5 different species of widows in the US. One of them is confined to the southern tip of Florida. That is the brown widow, so we don't have to worry about that so much here. The red widow is a little more widespread, but it's still very much a southern species. And then we get into the ones that have a black coloration with that red color that we watch for. The western black widow, which we have here, and then the southern black widow are the ones with the classic hourglass shape underneath. The northern black widow is a little bit different. It doesn't have the classic hourglass shape, and it has a series of red spots going across the top of the abdomen. So you're still looking for that black spider with the red markings to kind of tell it apart. Those are the ones that are the easiest to identify for most of our folks.
But they're not big.
They're not horribly large, no. An adult body size is about like that on a full-grown female. The males are smaller.
And the eggs get laid and the female eats the male?
Well,
is that another myth, or is that
there is some truth to that. They've actually looked at that. It's somewhere between 10 and 20% of the time the male gets eaten. So it's not, it depends on how hungry the female is and how adept the male is at getting in and getting out.
Escape.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So depending on how good he is whether or not he lives another day.
Oh my goodness.
And how good his timing is.
Yeah, I would have thought. Okay, so we talked about the mammoth dinner plate thing.
Yes.
What's the littlest one?
I am not fully aware what the smallest adult spider is, but I know they are quite small. We're talking a millimeter or so for some of them are very small. A little bit of reading, some of the things I could find just when I was doing some background for this, there are some spiders that are less than a millimeter long when fully grown.
Wow, teeny weeny little things.
Really small.
Okay, so we have black widows. What else do we have that is venomous here that packs a
That
nasty
actually
wallop?
Can cause issues for a person. That it would be the brown recluse. And I actually brought a brown recluse with me.
Dead.
Dead, yes.
Dead.
And I must thank Elizabeth, our co-panelist, for this. She's the one who actually pulled this off of one of her sticky board traps.
In her office?
An old office.
Oh, my goodness.
Not where she's at now. Whoop. It fell off. So this has darkened a little bit as it has sat in alcohol preservative over time. But what we're looking for is a light tan spider, relatively hairless. So a lot of the times I get things in that people think are brown recluses that are actually wolf spiders and other rather hairy spiders because they have some brown markings on the top of them. A lot of the times it's on the abdomen. We really need to look at that cephalothorax where the legs come out. And I don't know if they can get in close enough for that or
You
not.
want to put that on paper? Would that help?
Maybe. We'll try. And I'll give it a little bit of a tilt. I'm not going to get much more than that. We'll see if they can get a good shot of that where the legs come out. But what we're looking for is a classic fiddle shape.
Perfect.
Very nice. It's great to have good camera people. You can see that fiddle shape on there where it's a darker brown and it points towards the back.
The fiddle points to the back.
Yes, so that handle end points to the back.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking for on these. And with black widows, it's a cardiac problem with the bite. And so fortunately with the antivenoms that we have now, we don't run into nearly as many issues. The medicine is there to help alleviate a lot of those symptoms. With a brown recluse, what we run into is it can be a necrotic spot on the skin. It can be nothing. It varies widely between individuals. And it can be over time a systemic problem too, where people have a really bad reaction and it's systemic necrosis. So it varies quite a bit. Now, the key, if you think you have been bitten by one, capture the spider and bring it in for proof. It really helps with the medical professionals to know that's exactly what they're dealing with. And the same thing with the black widow. Try to capture it. Don't smash them to bits so that they're unrecognizable.
Yeah.
They need to be recognizable for that medical professional to go, okay, now we know exactly what we're dealing with and we can get you the help that you need to make sure that the venom has a less deleterious effect on you.
So if a person, tell people where you find these, because they're in buildings mostly, aren't they?
They are mostly in buildings when we run into them. And I did bring a fun map. This is from the University of California, Riverside, their spiders website. And I will apologize for those that are colorblind. This isn't necessarily the best colors for that. However, this is the map as is that I got from their website. And there are a lot of different species in this Loxalis group that are not necessarily as dangerous as our recluse spider. That recluse spider there in the red color, that reclusa, that's the one with the potent venom that we need to watch out for. And you can see it really comes into that southern corner of Nebraska, that southeast corner of Nebraska is that native range for them. When we find them elsewhere, it's because someone moved them with them.
Sure, yeah. So in a building, or in a building, I guess, how do people avoid getting bit by something that is that little?
Okay, so what we're looking to do, clutter is your enemy. You want to declutter. You want to get rid of boxes, things that just lay around, so that when you do go through your dwelling and you're vacuuming and cleaning, you disturb those areas that may be potential hiding places. Same thing goes for any spider. This is one of our common things. Declutter, get to areas regularly to clean so that they don't have places to hide out. So that's what you're looking to do. Don't leave clothes on the floor overnight and then try to wear them the next day, especially if you're in that area that is within the native range.
Right.
So that's one thing to do, because most of the bites associated with brown recluses are related to people putting on shoes, getting them trapped, or other articles of clothing, and they get trapped up against the body, and so they don't really have anywhere to go.
Right.
Most of the time, these spiders like to run and hide.
Right.
Most spiders are that way. There are a few elsewhere that get a little aggressive.
Right, like that mammoth plate thing. Right?
Well, even then, I'm not sure
Yeah.
unless you're like directly bothering it, that it would necessarily go after you.
Yeah.
You're a little big for its taste, I think.
I hope. We want to make sure you're watching us on Facebook Live and giving us your comments and your questions, because we're not going to do this if you don't like it, and we love to hear from you. And usually we have some really, really interesting conversations. We have 20 minutes. You can watch us, of course, on NET or BYF, and it's really a great opportunity for you to get more information, whether you are a fan of the subject matter or not. All right, so Wayne, you've got eyes in front of you, too, that are spiderish.
So this is an eye arrangement chart for spiders. This one is from the state of North Carolina. This is from their government website, and it has a nice lineup of the different eye arrangements. So when you hear me talk on Backyard Farmer regular about all of this, you hear me talking about being able to see the eyes. And there's a reason why this is so incredibly important. Spiders can have 0, 6, or 8 eyes.
Wow.
Our friend the brown recluse has 6 eyes, so that's a common one that we think of. Most spiders have 8 that we regularly run into. There are a few cave-dwelling spiders that have 0. They've lost all their eyes. So all of these, they line up nicely, and some of these are pretty telltale when you get into large eyes. And if we pan back up to the top here, number 1 right there, that's the standard wolf spider arrangement. You have the row of 4, and then you form a little box that is easily seen from the top. And so while they're working good camera work,
we're going to bring up
I brought a wolf spider today. So this one is a Carolina wolf spider, and it's one of our common species. Spiders typically don't preserve very well. This one was large enough, and the exoskeleton was hard enough, it kind of held its shape. The abdomen did swell up a little bit, but if they get in really close, I'm not sure if they'll be able to see it, but you can see the little box that the eyes form right there where that head comes in and narrows. You can see the 8 legs very nicely, and you see the 2 things kind of sticking out at the front. Those aren't the fangs. Those are the pedipalps. Those are part of the mouth and the function on the front end. For the males, they're important in reproduction. So this is your basic spider layout. Eyes are incredibly important when you're dealing with spiders as far as identification, unless you've seen enough of a particular species to really go one way or another with it.
So wolf spiders, of course, come in darker and lighter and bigger.
And smaller.
And smaller.
There are some smaller species out there. I mean, some of the larger ones can be the size of a dollar, the old Eisenhower dollar coin in leg size. Some of the smaller ones can be around a nickel.
Right.
When they're fully grown even.
And we have jumping spiders.
Yes.
That are fun.
Those are fun to watch, especially if they're on like the side of your house and they're hunting flies down as they go across the side of the house.
Yeah.
And those actually leave a little tagline as they go along. So in case they have a jump that fails and they fall, they get caught.
Really?
Yes.
And then we have the little crab spiders that come in different colors that kind of hide in plants that are interesting.
Those are crab spiders. We have something called running crab spiders that are a little bit different. They both kind of have the same crab-like appearance.
Like that.
Yeah, like you think of a standard crab where the legs come off to the side and out and curve a little bit towards the front.
Yeah. All right, so then we have Charlotte, right? We have Charlotte the spider. What is Charlotte?
Charlotte's closest equivalent would be an orb weaver.
Yeah.
Those make the elaborate webs that have the Z pattern going, the zigzag, going back and forth down the middle.
We have the beautiful ones always in our backyard farmer garden. There's some yellow garden spider.
Yeah, that's actually an orb weaver.
Right, sitting there. And what are the ones that you see in the fall? A traveler, or it's an orb weaver of some sort? They're not colorful.
There's a whole bunch of different large orb weavers that have various markings, and they vary quite a bit within the species even sometimes on what the coloration can be.
And then we have the ones that have the little funnel thing.
Oh yes, grass spiders.
Grass spiders.
Grass spiders. Those make the webs that look like a sheet, and they kind of all funnel back into this little retreat where the spider hangs out. You want to have some fun, pick yourself a blade of grass and see if you can imitate an insect well enough to get the spider to come out, and you can see it.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. So we just have 2 or 3 minutes left, and you brought some references.
I did.
To show people.
A lot of different references. This is probably one of people's first references, the old Golden Guide. They updated it since when I was a kid. It's actually a lot better than it used to be. Lots of basic information. This is probably good for our younger crowd as far as a basic spider guide. So this is, and it's not terribly expensive. So this is a good starter. It's not going to be as thorough as some of our other pieces. If you're looking for something that's more Nebraska-based, we have an extension circular written by some of our own former panelist members, and Jim Kalish was very heavily involved with this.
Which is why the pictures are so fabulous, probably.
Yes. So this one has lots of really good pictures in it.
Yeah.
It has the eye arrangements, the actual pictures of the spider's eyes. So not just drawings, the actual pictures of the spider's eyes, so you can see how those actually play out.
Nice.
So this is free for download on our Extension Publications website. So this is an easy one to get a hold of if you have internet access.
Great.
And now we're going to get into a little more thorough references. This is Spiders of the Eastern North America, or United States, excuse me, photographic guide. This one has lots of actual pictures in it as well. Again, this is going to have far more in it than what our Nebraska one does. So if you do a little more traveling, maybe this might be the one for you. After that one, this is the one I use the most. This is the Common Spiders of North America. And this one has not pictures, but hand-drawn color plates that are rather fantastic. And all the like things are together, so you can easily try to pull apart what a lot of those things are. So this one is the one I like to use when I've got something. Now, for those of you that really want to get involved, Spiders of North America. This is the first edition. They're actually up to the second edition now, but this is the real technical one. So if you really want to delve in, you want to take them through the identification keys.
That's the one.
This is the one that you want to get. But this one will not have the color photographs. It's going to be a lot of line drawings, so you're going to have to be willing to really work at it to make this one work.
Excellent. Well, they are fascinating, Wayne. I still don't know that I'm a huge fan of all of them, and probably most people aren't either. But unfortunately, that is all the time we have for Digging Deeper with Wayne and Backyard Farmer. So let's say thanks to him for coming in and talking to us and not bringing in any live spiders today. We will be back next week with another in-depth landscape discussion. Do be sure to watch Backyard Farmer live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central on NET. Thanks for digging deeper with Backyard Farmer.